Maigavanen and well met. I'm Araki Galadirthin, head of Divide and Conquer, and welcome to the third and final modding tutorial. This time covering the Barracks Event, faction money, and the beginning situation for each faction within the games. Now, what we're going to edit in this one are files related to the campaign script, so I have to run through a few little bits of housekeeping before we do any editing there. But do rest assured that after this video I will return to the faction overviews. I hope to get Thranduil and Lorien out within the next 2 days, and we're closing in on having a faction overview for every faction done. And tomorrow, which will be for me the 18th of September, I hope to do a few more videos of my Dorwinian campaign and Dunedain campaign, so stay tuned for those. But for now, we'll do this final modding video. What we are going to want this time, we'll dive straight in, and the first thing we will do is the Barracks Event. So we will dive straight in, as I say. You're going to want to get to your data folder, which by now you should be familiar with. This is the path for me. The path for you will be Steam something 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 Medieval 2, or it will be C Program Files 86 Sega Med 2. But either way, you will arrive at the data folder. Now, once here, you're going to want to go to the world folder, and this is where the first point of call comes in. Any change to the world folder, regardless of how minuscule, even if it's just adding a comma somewhere, will not take effect in your game unless you start a new game. So none of these changes are save game compatible. That's the first thing to note. So you will have to start again. Now, the second thing to note is that when you make any change to any of the files within any of these subfolders, you will need to delete this file here, map.rwm. Not the climates, just map.rwm. That file is a sort of a backup-y save sort of file that the game uses to keep the preferences that you've selected in for each save, so that your saves basically will always work. But when you make a change to one of these files, you'll need to delete the map.rwm so it can regenerate with the new preferences that you have chosen. So that's what you're going to need to do. You're going to need to delete that, and away it goes. Job done. But do bear in mind that whenever you then load the game up, it will regenerate the map.rwm. So if you have to make another change, you will again have to delete that file. So do bear that in mind. But anyway, so once you've deleted that, go back to maps. So data, world, maps, then campaign, and Imperial campaign. Now the first thing we're going to do, as I say, is we're going to change the Barracks event, because I get asked an awful lot, how do I make the Barracks event happen sooner? I think it breaks immersion, I think it's really silly. Or you've played the game 20 million times and you want to play with elites from the start. So what you're going to want to do to change the Barracks event, now this is the easiest way to do it. There are a much more detailed way which will remove the Barracks event completely, but this way will guarantee that the event happens within the first 4 turns. And what you want to do is you want to go to the Descript Event file just here, double click that one, and it will open up in Notepad++. Now to say again, you must use Notepad++ or the game will crash, so do bear that in mind. But once you've got Notepad++ open, if you've got Divide and Conquer version 0.51, this should be the file that you see. There should be nothing here other than Event Historic Large City Barracks and date 15 to 16. But I can double check that. Let's just double check that we're all working on the same Descript events. Data, world, maps, campaign, Imperial campaign, Descript events. Yes, indeed. So that is what your Descript event files will look like. So if it doesn't look like that, then unfortunately you've probably got the wrong. No, hold on. Actually, that may just be a change that because that other folder that I use, Third Age 3, is as if I knew nothing about modding. So this is how it should look. Now to get it to be within the first 4 turns, you simply change that first number to a 0, and you change the second one to a 1. And that's it. Save the file, and that's it. Delete the map.rwm if you haven't already, and start a new campaign, and the Barracks event will happen within the first 4 turns, which is soon enough that you'll essentially playing the whole game with it. And that is literally all you have to do. These numbers here decide within which date range the Barracks event will happen, with 0 being the very, very first turn, obviously, and 1 being 4 turns in, because this is the number of years that the Barracks event will be. So you times that number by 4 to give you where you were. So originally it was 15 and 16, because it happens within between turn 60 and 64, which is 15 times 4 and 16 times 4. So that's where it should happen, between 60 and 64, but with 0 and 1 it will happen between 0 and 4. So that's what you change it to change the barracks event, and it's as simple as that. You don't need to faff around in the campaign script. You don't need to faff around in your export to script buildings, removing any of the indicators that you will see, which look something like, if I remember rightly, I've spelled barracks wrong. Is it barrack or is it barracks? Yes, there we are. So this one here, an event counter large city barracks 1. That's the trigger that the game uses in the export to script buildings file to restrict certain buildings from being available until after the barracks event. So that's the long way of doing it, but don't worry about that. Just change that number to a 0 and that number to a 1, and your job done. So then you can close that, and jobs are good. Right, so that's the barracks event. So the next thing we're going to want to do is changing the factions conditions at the game start. Now again, what you're going to need to open here are the descript strat and the descript strat pre-fire. Every change you make to one, you must make to the other, otherwise it can cause some problems later on. So the first thing that we'll deal with, the easiest way, by the way, to change each file is do all your changes in the main descript strat, and then once you've done all your changes, just press Ctrl A, and as you can see, it will select the entire file. Then press Ctrl C, or just right click and click copy, and then go to this descript strat pre-fire, press Ctrl A again and right click and paste, and then it will just make all of your changes instantly, and it's a very fast way of doing it. But what you are going to want to do if you want to make a faction have more money, so this is more money at the start of the game and more money throughout the game, full stop. Let's try and say that we're going to change Gondor. So search for Gondor. Although you'll have to first of all get through a ton of resources, so it's much easier to search for the faction leader of the faction you want, Denethor, and then scroll up the list until you arrive at the top. Each one of these is a region. So Gondor has a very big entry in this file because they have the largest starting region. But as you can see, Gondor is already quite a ways down the file. But this is what you're looking for. Each faction's start will be surrounded by all the hashtags, or the hashes, sorry, with the semicolons in before each one. Now you'll see two numbers here, denarii and denarii king's purse. Now the denarii is the initial starting money. So if you're not too worried about having money throughout the game, you could set the denarii to something ridiculous like 170,000. And then I can't imagine you'd really run that out of money that much, but so the first number is just how much you start with at the very beginning of the game. That's the only time that one is used. So if the issue is that you don't think you've got enough money at the beginning, just change the denarii to some huge number. I'm fairly certain it can be whatever you want, but there might be a cap somewhere. I imagine probably 1 billion is the highest it could be. I'm not entirely certain, and I don't know if that's an American billion or an English one. But that's the initial starting money. Now the denarii king's purse is a fixed income that you get every turn. And this is how you can kind of keep a check on how wealthy factions are. So the king's purse number, whatever that is, you will get that much income each turn, regardless of any other income. So if you think your faction is particularly poor, you want to give them loads of money, you're really struggling, just set that number to be huge, and then each turn you will get whatever that is as income. You can set it to be so big that regardless of any negative factors that your campaign may have, you'll still be making positive money. So those two numbers there are how you edit how much money your faction begins with at the start of the game. Very, very simple additions, very simple changes, but make sure that you make the change in the descript strat pre-fire as well. And then save it, just delete the map.rwm if you haven't already, and again start a new campaign and you'll see these changes in the game. Right, so that's the money side of the start of the game. Now the next thing that people often ask for is that they say that certain villages or towns or regions may not have enough population at the start of the game, and they don't want to cheat with the add population command because they may not own the town at that time, and they may not even know how to add the population command. So you may want to edit a region's population before the game even begins, and that is done in this file as well. And you may have already seen it if you're sharp-eyed and you're chenlaig, as the Sindar would say. And you can see the population lag here, 4252. Now, what you're going to need is the region that you want to change. So, for example, let's make the Isle of Tolfalas, which means coast island. Let's give Tolfalas a much bigger region population. So what you're going to need to do is you want to come back to your data folder here and head into the text folder, this one just here. And once in text, you want to open the longest named file that the game has, which is Imperial Campaign Regions and Settlement Names. So open that one, and it will give you a long list of every region's name and the town of that region. So we want Tolfalas. So we search because we know that the town is called Gobel Tolfalas. And it will take us to Gobel Tolfalas. And this is the entry. Every region only has 2 lines. The top line is the Tolfalas province, is the in-file name of the region. And then this one here is the in-game name of the region. So it's the Isle of Tolfalas. And the town is called Gobel Tolfalas. So what we're going to want to take is we're going to want to take the first one in the brackets there and copy that. So Control C and head back to the descript strat. Use your search command and paste in Tolfalas province, which the search is Control F if you are unsure. Find next, and it will take you to the Tolfalas province. And as we can see here, the population is only 174 at the start of the game. So we want it to be a lot bigger than that, so we'll give them 17,400 people. And again, that is all you then have to do. Save it, delete the map.rwm if you haven't already, make the same change in the descript strat pre-fire, and then you start a new campaign and the population will be that large. So that's how you edit the population. Do bear in mind that if you are unsure, you can take either the province name or the town name for the region that you want. So for example, let's say that I know the province is Plains of Vidugavia, but let's say I didn't know that the province's capital was Ilinin. Then I can just search Plains of Vidugavia and it will take me to the province that I need, and then there's Ilinin. Now, one thing to bear in mind, you may have noticed that I keep double clicking on things like Rakyaberg province, and if I double click anywhere, it will automatically select everything that it considers a continuous word. So the computer thinks that Rakyaberg underscore province is one word because it considers the underscore as a continuation, like just as another letter. Now the problem is that when someone a very long time ago, whoever made all of these regions, decided that it would be better to use hyphens, and the issue with hyphens is that the computers do not see hyphens as a continuation of the same word. So when I double click that, I only get Mirkwood province, and I don't get Elven-Mirkwood province, and that's really annoying. So with those ones, you have to manually select the whole word. And it adds a great ton of time to the modding, but there's so many hyphens in the game that it would just take so long to change them all and make sure that we didn't cock anything up. So do bear in mind that if the province that you want, if you double click and it doesn't select it all, you just have to manually select it all. Now that may seem like a simple thing, but to many that may bring about information that they never knew, something that they didn't know that they had to do. But anyway, there we are. There's the Elven Mirkwood province, and there's the population. So that's how you edit the population. Right, the final thing that we're going to do... Oh, sorry, just a brief point. If you do want to rename any town before the game begins, or you want to rename any region, then that is all done in this file. So if you want to rename, I don't know, let's say you're a Gondor fanatic to your core, and you would like Minas Tirith to be called Minas Anor from the game's beginning, you just change that to Anor. Then you'd save this file, and again, when you edit any text file, you will need to delete the second .bin version of the file itself. So you just delete that one, and then the game will regenerate it with your new name. Note that you do not need to start a new game to make changes to the text files. These are save game compatible. You just need to delete that following strings.bin. But anyway, back to the descript strat, where the final thing we want to edit is the starting building levels within a town. So again, we'll go back to Minas Tirith, which is not Minas Tirith, it's Pelennor, isn't it? Oh, do come on. Let's find out. Let's put ourselves out of our misery. What is it? Scroll. It's called Anorian. Ah, of course. My bad. Right, so what you get listed here, this is the entry for the Anorian region. And each one of these, as the name would suggest, Kenlaig again, is the building within the town. Now, of course, this uses the file names of the buildings, so it can look quite confusing if you're unsure what you're looking at. But don't mess around with any of these or you'll severely change the look of the town, and I'm not going to help you at all if you change those and then you send me a message saying, oh, I edited who created it and now it looks like, now, I don't know, now Bree looks like Minas Tirith, help me, then please just don't edit that unless you really know what you're doing. But anyway, so these are what you're going to be interested in. These are the building levels. The first, this is the type is just the link obviously to the export to script building file. And then there are two other lines. There is, for example, let's take the town hall. I like the town hall. We'll start with the town hall. The type is a city hall and the level currently is a town hall. So let's copy city hall and go to the export to script building, find it, and see what we're left with. And here we are. So if you want to add a completely new building that is not currently built, you will need to make a new entry. So copy everything from the line above building but not including the odd bracket, which I don't know the name of, and then down to everything above the next building line. So that's how your selection screen should look. Copy that, and then I like to do it one above just for safety's sake, but you can put it anyway. You can put it there if you want, but I prefer to do it there. So then copy that again and you'll get a new entry. Copying existing entries is the safest way to ensure that you won't break the game. So always copy an entry if possible. And so what you're going to want to do then, let's say that this town didn't have a city hall. What we would want to do is from the export to script building, we take the level, we take the building name, which in this case is city hall. It's the first line of any building's entry. So we want city hall because the city hall line counts for a city. And as we can see from the descript strat, if we scroll to the top, Anorian is a city, as we know from core building, huge stone wall. Now the problem that we have here is that you may notice somewhere it does say, oh no, yes, at the top here, level huge city. Now this is misleading because even if it's a fortress or a castle, it will not say level castle, and that can be very, very annoying. Now it will say settlement castle there, but the level will still relate to a town itself. So you have to just keep your eyes open for that. Anorian Fields, Anorian Province. So from here it will just say settlement, and that's how you know that it's a town and not a castle. And because, as I always say, because I have said in the past, sorry, there are two building lines for almost every building, one for a castle, one for a town. And Minas Tirith is considered a town because there's no castle after the word settlement there. So in the export to script buildings, you want to make sure that you get the city hall because that works for a city. If you're trying to add a building to a castle, you need to make sure that that word there says castle. So in this case, we'd go to castle hall, we'd find that. And here again at the entry, the first line in the entry is Castle Hall, and we can see that the first level of this entry is a C Town Hall, and it belongs in a castle. And that's how you'd know to get the castle one. But we are interested in the City Hall. So if you're adding a brand new building, you get that first line, building something, and you copy that, and you paste that into the descript strat, and you add that there, and you'll get City Hall. And now comes the next bit. That's only if you're adding a new one. So we want to add, let's just say we want to add a town hall. So here are your available levels: town hall, council chambers, city hall, and mayor's palace. And you want to add one of those. So we'll start with the town hall, which is the lowest level possible, and we add that there. And that's how you add a new entry. So you need to make sure that your type, the actual building itself, corresponds with the level of the building that you are using, or the game will crash and it will likely not tell you why. So that's how you add a new entry. But if you want to edit an existing entry, it is as simple as City Hall. We go to City Hall, we copy that as we've done, and we go to City Hall, we're already there, City Hall. Now, bear in mind there are 4 levels here, as I've already explained: Town Hall, Council Chambers, City Hall, Mayor's Palace. But you have to double check that the faction can actually build the level that you're trying to give them. Because if they can't, the game will still run, but it will just be a hideous mess. And you won't have a UI, the building won't actually have anything in it. So don't build something if they can't build it. So the way you want to check that, if we want to make Minas Tirith have the largest possible town hall available, You go to Mayor's Palace, and you find next, and there it is, Mayor's Palace. This is its entry here. This is what it looks like. And what we're concerned with here are who does it require? What factions can build it? And we are looking for Gondor. Now, I know off the top of my head that Sicily is Gondor, Milan is Rohan. Feel free to write these down. I will write them all off, but I'll go to the file that contains them anyway. So, for your own information, this is what the files are. Gondor are Sicily. Milan are Rohan. Scotland are Dale. Turks are the northern Dunedain. Byzantium are Dorwinion. Spain is Harad. Venice is Run. England is Mordor. Oh, missed off the E. England is Mordor. France is Isengard. Holy Roman Empire, or HRE, are the Misty Mountains. Portugal is Angmar. Egypt is Imladris. Mongols is Thranduil. The Moors are Erebor. Denmark is Dol Amroth. Poland is Dol Guldur. Russia is Umbar. Ireland is the Galathrim, the realm of Lothlorien. Saxons are Linden. The Normans are Bree. Hungary are Ered Luin. Norway is Khazad-dûm. United is unused, don't use that. And Canned, as I'm sure you can imagine, is Canned. Now, additional to that, the Teutonic, what are they called? Teutonic something. Teutonic Order. The Teutonic Order are Enedwaith. Aztecs are Dunland. And the realm of the Anduin, the Vale of Anduin, are Timurids, who are not listed here, I don't believe. Timurids, there they are. And Timurids are Anduin. And that should be everyone. But, in case you don't want to listen to me just listing off who everybody is then in the files, if you want to know who everyone is, you come back to your data text folder. And what you are interested here, I believe, is the expanded, which is this one just here, expanded. And you head to expanded, and it will give you the hero abilities at the top. You scroll down past that, and then it goes to name generals. And then underneath the generated by localization spreadsheet, you will find who everybody is, just there. Including at the bottom there, it will tell you which cultures are which cultures belong to whom in the files. So as you can see, Southern European are dwarves, Gondor are Gondor, Northern European are the Northmen, Mesoamerican are Wildmen. You've probably heard me say Mesoamerican a few times in place of Wildmen, just because I use the files more than the game. Greek are the Elves, Eastern European are the Orcs, and Middle Eastern are the Men of the East. But every faction is listed here with who they are. So you can find them all in the expanded.txt. But they were also, as I've just reeled off from the export script buildings. Right, so the reason that we did all that is because we need to make sure that our faction can actually build this building. So Gondor can build this building, so there's no issue. So we can take Mayor's Palace, copy that, head back to the Descript Strat, and update that to a Mayor's Palace. Make sure you do the same to the Descript Strat pre-fire, save them both, and then just delete them up to RWM if you haven't already. And that's it. Start a new campaign, and it will be there. And that's how you increase the level of a town, of a building. But you do have to be careful. I will say it again. Do make sure that your faction can actually use this. This is most prevalent with the standard barracks building. If we go to the standard barracks building, which can be found by doing that, going to the first one, then the second one. Now this one has a town guard, city watch, militia drill square, militia barracks, army barracks, royal armory, and town watch. However, militia drill square is actually the highest level that it goes to. And if you build beyond that, as you will see in a moment as we scroll through the entire entry, the next level, Militia Barracks, has nothing in it. So if you don't check that your faction can actually build that building, you may end up giving yourself a building that is actually completely useless to you, and you'll have to delete it and start the entire line again. So do double check that your faction can build it, first of all, in the start of the building's entry where it says requires factions XYZ, up to that bracket there. And that's it. That is how you change the barracks, the building levels. That was how you change the money. That was how you change the population. And that is how you do any basic modding that you may want to do to your own game to make it a little bit more fun if you're finding it boring as it is. If you do have any questions about modding, feel free to post them on the 3 modding tutorial videos that I've done. Either myself or Hummingbird will likely give you a hand there, because he is also as talented as myself. Not as talented as myself, that's so big-headed, I do apologise. He is as learned as myself. So we'll both be able to give you a hand with this sort of modding. So do feel free to comment in the YouTube videos if you want a hand, or preferably do head to Total War Center, where we'll be able to find your comment a lot easier and give you a hand there. So if you have any further questions, leave a comment, but until then, I've been Arake Galadirthan, the head of Divide and Conquer. Thank you very much for watching these. I hope they've taught you something, but after this one I'll get back to my standard videos of faction overviews and some gameplay. So for now, Navar Naden Pedimad, and farewell.